The UN wants countries in the Western world to apologize for systemic racism and pay reparations to people of African descent. The reparations won't just be money either, although it will, but right now the list consists of apologizing, recognizing your country's racism, restitution, you paying for racial injustice in the past, and making sure that technologies in the future won't be racist either, whatever that means. And look, before we get deeper into this, I just want to say that I'm all for getting rid of racism and acknowledging that it happened in the past, because it obviously did. But we don't make people pay for the sins of their parents, in this case literally. Like, they're saying that you'll have to make restitutions for what happened in the past, for what happened to someone else, but not even them, their families, generations ago when you weren't even alive. I think we're getting a little crazy here, guys. How about we just treat everyone equally, right? Like, no special rights for anyone based on their race, because otherwise you're just trying to fight racism with more racism. Telling people that they're guilty because of their skin color is racist, no matter what color they have. I mean, I know I'm telling you the obvious here, and I know you know this, but apparently not everyone knows this anymore. Now, the report focuses on systemic racism in the West, meaning, of course, that there's supposed to be this system-wide racism in your country. But you can't just assume that all Western countries have systemically racist governments. It's such a crazy thing to just assume about another person's country. Like, I'm from Scandinavia, and all of the countries in Scandinavia have laws against discriminating against someone based on their skin color. I didn't have time to check all of the countries in the Western world, but your country probably does as well. And not to state the obvious here, but how come they don't mention nations like China? Like, one of the, if not the most racially one-sided nation in the world. Oh, my bad. Okay, so China is part of the council that's releasing this report. Okay, I understand. My bad. Honestly, I usually don't get too offended from reading all of these reports, but just assuming that all of these countries in the West has systemically racist governments, it's such a radical assumption to make. The problem is that it's not only an assumption, it's something that the UN is right now trying to base a set of new laws on. This tendency that these international organizations have to take a really radical viewpoint and try to base laws for everyone on them is a really bad tendency, and it's the reason that people are losing faith in these international, like the UN and the EU and so on. I think what's even more frustrating is that the UN is supposed to be an organization that unites all of these nations behind a common goal. But can I just be honest here? This sounds like they just took the most radical left viewpoint from the US right now. That the whole system, you know, the talking point that the whole system is racist and that we need to rebuild it all. Like they just took that point and transferred it to the entirety of the West. Like, all of the countries, they're all the same. It's like, no, you took it too far. You could have had a genuine conversation about racism, a healthy one, how to dismantle racism across the West. But you took it too far to begin with. No one's gonna talk with you at this point. So take a look at what the lady who approved this report within the UN said. We could not find a single example of a state that has fully reckoned with the past or comprehensively accounted for the impact of the lives of people of African descent today. Our message, therefore, is that this situation is untenable. The situation is untenable because we, according to the standards in the report, have not dealt with racism. Not a single country in the world meets our standards. But of course, no one's gonna meet your standards if those standards are full restitutions for generations in the past and for people to apologize for something they didn't even do, for something their great forefathers did at some point, maybe, who knows, because it wasn't really recorded like individually. What country do you think is going to behave in that way? You're not going to get a Western country to all of the people within the country to apologize for something they didn't do to people they probably didn't even know. You're not going to get people to go along with this silly idea that everything and everyone are racist, because most people can't recognize that, because most people aren't racists. I don't mind at all us recognizing what happened in history, coming together to socially make sure that racism won't take place in our societies anymore. I don't have a problem with any of that, but all of this blaming people for the sins of their forefathers is crazy. It's silly. You're not going to get people to get along with it. And my bet is that even if the UN is able to somehow convince some radical politicians that this is all a good idea to implement into your country, the people won't go along with it, guys. I was going to show you what they mean by technological racism, but I mean, they're just talking about writing AI code in a non-racist way. So honestly, I'm not gonna waste your time. This is really silly. All right, guys, thanks for following this madness. Take care.